Okay, so welcome everyone. It's good to see all of you. So meditation, as we practice it just now, is all about honesty. The entire path is all about sincerity, is all about honesty. And what we practice really is to just, in the beginning, as well as in the end of it, really just practicing to see yourself with honesty. And see, well, how is it to be here? We're not trying to fabricate any artificial states. We're not trying to get anywhere. We're not trying to improve anything. We're not trying to build anything, construct anything, a different personality, a different kind of feeling, whatever you might imagine. This is not what meditation is about. We're not trying to be different. We're not trying to get anywhere. That's why we could say that meditation very much goes against the grain of our usual mental behavior, which is always goal-oriented. It's this constant chase, trying to somehow to get somewhere. If you have noticed, right now when we were sitting, this is the very thing that keeps you from being at ease. That keeps you from being really happy. There's this constant striving. There's this inner anxiety. And where does that come from? It comes from the very simple fact that we're not at ease within ourselves. That we don't really like who we are. So we are continuously busy trying to create that perfect personality that hopefully at some point might be more likable, more perfect, less flawed, faster, more. But in meditation practice, that this is clearly seen, this behavior in the mind that keeps us from actually enjoying ourselves. It keeps us from actually really getting in touch with life. And it keeps us from listening. And for those who don't listen really, or are unable to listen because of the noise in their heads, the constant noise pushing them somewhere. Come on, you need to get somewhere. You need to get this. You need to become different. Then we are unable to listen and therefore unable to actually relate to life. And for those who are unable to relate to life, there is not really any chance to discover that the one relating to life is the very illusion. There is, in fact, just life. The question is, who is doing it? Who is doing the thing we call life, right? Doesn't that sound fishy to you? Like a little bit strange? Is there anyone doing life? Like as magnificent and amazing as life is, could you be doing it? Are you beating your heart? Are you growing your hair? Are you getting old? Are you running this body? And as you might have noticed in this meditation, are you running this mind? Does it do what you want it to do consistently? If that was the case, then everyone in this world would be happy, because everyone would opt for happiness. People would choose to feel good. After all, that's all we constantly try to create. Positive feelings, happy sensations, comfort, ease. All the technologies that we use in life, they're aiming at that, at a reduction of suffering and an increase of comfort, well-being and happiness, isn't it? That's all we ever do. It doesn't matter in what way we are doing it. We're all doing essentially the same. We're just trying different tools. And most of those tools, they aim somehow for the future. That the best version of life is tomorrow. And all you need to do is get there. And you do that by creating, fabricating, and so forth. And then, hopefully one day you will arrive in that perfect paradise of the future. But the problem is the future never does arrive, actually. So you never arrive. You never have a sense of actually feeling, yes, that's it. I'm done. But you solve one problem, there's the next. Look at your posture right now. You solve one problem, whoop, the next comes right up. Then you solve that. Then the next one comes. Well, if you really want to understand how life works, that's all we need to ever study. Just the body, study the body. So looking at the body, then you will notice it shows you life, the whole big story of life. It shows you that in this moment, right now. Pain, increasing, 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 and relief. Pain, increasing, 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 and relief again. And so forth. And that is basically life. But mind doesn't want to accept that. Mind says, if I just do everything right, then I come to a point in life where I can be happy ever after. When all my problems will be finished. I will have no more pain if I'm just eating only healthy food. I'll not get sick. If I just do enough exercise every day, I won't age as fast. If I just talk to people the right way, I will never have conflict. If I just manage my work the right way, I will not be stressed. That is kind of true, just as much as it's true that if you're changing your posture, there will be relief, and it will last for a little while. But in the bigger picture, you see this is just it's oscillation. There's a wave. It goes up and down. So there is not this final kind of relief that we're all looking for. Just really being at ease with what is. Because most essentially, you are that peace that you're looking for. You are that happiness that you're looking for. In fact, that release, that happiness, that enlightenment, that beautiful life that you're looking for is within the looking itself. It's so most essentially you that you're missing it. It's kind of both. It's funny and tragic. It's so close that we're continuously looking away from it because we're looking out from it. And we're looking at a whole bunch of stuff that's all very promising. I just need to optimize my thoughts, need to optimize my feelings, need to optimize my life, need to optimize my car, need to optimize my relationship. I need to optimize my wife. I just need to figure it somehow out that if I just arrange circumstances in the perfect possible way, then I will create my ivory tower, and then that's bliss forever after. And we all tried for many years. And it's like the big history of humankind, isn't it? You have 4,000 years of documented history, not one single day without war on this planet. And it might occur to someone that thinks a bit deeper, why are we not learning from that? What is it, the element that is missing there? And that's precisely the element of turning within and finding the answer there. All war emanates from within, from people who are just unhappy. They're not at peace. And where is this unhappiness? Within us, all of us. And if that doesn't end, war doesn't end, problems don't end, conflicts don't end, change doesn't end. And so before we go into these rather deep reflections on seeing ourselves the way we actually are, obstacles kind of have to be removed at some point. So it's really important to discover what kind of obstacle is it that drains my energies. What is it that is really draining my energies, and what is it that is filling the tank? What is fueling spiritual energy? Because you need a ton of spiritual energy if you really want to turn within properly and actually receive the fruit of deep spiritual practice, which is liberation from suffering here and now. And this is a very possible thing. But what do we need in order to uplift ourselves to such a possibility? Not just short term, but for good. You need power, like anything in life. It needs energy to grow, it needs energy to change, it needs energy to transform. In a similar way, if you want to get to an island, you need a boat. Once you get to the island, you don't need the boat anymore, agreed. But it would be a mistake to say, hey, I've read in a book, you don't really need the boat is an illusion, we're already on the island. That is very delusional, because we obviously still suffer. And that is the measurement that you can make, right? You can see for yourself, am I suffering? Yes, no. That's a very good question to ask ourselves, in fact. Am I suffering this right now? Forget the other people. Forget the annoying neighbor. What's really interesting is, would you have to suffer your neighbor? Is that a necessity? Is it necessary for you to suffer your annoying neighbor? Or is it just simply the fact that it's so frustrating that we don't know how not to suffer, so we just point our finger out to the neighbor and say it's a bit more convenient. It's the neighbor's fault. I suffer because of him. He's too noisy. But that's just really being comfortable and a bit lazy. Because the real question is, like, would I really have to suffer this guy? Is that a necessity? Do I have to suffer? That's a good question to ask ourselves. Do I have to suffer? Do I have to be anxious? Do I have to be worried and depressed and anxious? Is that a must? Are you born and then it's like a commandment, thou shalt be anxious? Do you have to? Is worry... Some people think that the more they worry, the more they will figure out their future. And they kind of will solve all their problems in the future. And solving the problems, the future problems, depends on the amount of worry that I have right now. It's almost like that, isn't it? Sometimes I also feel like this. If the more I worry, the more I feel like that's going to give me the solution, my worrying. But that's not the case. That's absurd. That's ridiculous. This is like expecting hitting my head with a hammer gets me rid of a headache tomorrow. That's totally absurd. Yes, if I'm worrying right now, I'm getting better at worrying. That's all. That's a fact. I'm getting better at worrying. For each minute that I spend worrying, I'm getting more skillful at it. It becomes more ingrained, even in my physicality, in my brain, in my neurology, everywhere. It becomes more and more dense, more heavy. The more I worry, the better I get at it. So is that the question that we can ask ourselves is this the direction that I want to take in life? So right now, what's our mental state right now? That's your direction. Whatever state you're in right now. So if you know your mental state as it is right now, then you know your direction. You can say, therefore, you know your future if you're looking at your current mental state. And you will be successful with achieving goals, of course, if you can maintain a certain mental state. That is very helpful. So what kind of states are worthwhile maintaining, worthwhile cultivating, worthwhile getting better at? There are all those states that are uplifting. Like we mentioned on Tuesday, for example, gratitude. This is a state that instantly shifts your energy from all the problems to a solution. It instantly uplifts you, instantly changes your life. If you want to change your life instantly, what are you grateful for right now? And then feel it. And it's an instant shift. Now you're taking an entirely different direction. You steered your car into Gratitude Avenue. And you're going to see nice things there. Then just stay on it. The temptation to get off Gratitude Avenue into Worry Avenue is great. In fact, as soon as you lose mindfulness, that's where you turn. Yeah, but I wonder, will my life really get better if I'm always grateful? Can I be always grateful? I'm not sure. That sounds a bit too much like spending a hippie life or something like this. Always grateful, always happy, hugging trees. Will that really be the answer? Forget the entire life. How about now? How does it make you feel now? Here's again, we need to see this with honesty. What's the mechanics of gratitude? If you're feeling grateful for something, how do you feel? Does it feel good? Even slightly better? For example, I have a headache today. Now I could feel bad about it. Oh, I have a headache. I don't particularly like headaches. So I can dwell there with my mind, just feeling the headache and feeling miserable about this problem. Or I could just simply be happy to be here with all of you guys now. Well, my left knee feels good. My shoulders feel okay. The rest of my body is pretty healthy. It's just a headache now. Okay. It immediately shifts my state. It feels better. And this helps me to have a more clear mind, a bit more creative ideas. Let's say you do face problems in your life right now, relationship problems, work problems, whatever problems. It will be the power of gratitude that helps you to get better ideas. And these better ideas help you to make better decisions. And it's those decisions in turn that change your life for real. The question is, where do our decisions come from, right? Do they come from mindlessly just reacting to circumstances, getting angry and then just deciding to lash out at the person? That guy needs to learn this lesson. Let me teach you. Then what's the likelihood of that resulting in future happiness? It's a very low likelihood, isn't it? And if you have mindfulness, you can see through what's going on right there. Oh, what direction am I taking right now? Well, that's the anger train. I'm sitting in the anger train. Where does that lead? What leads to anger country? How is angry country like? How is it like? Well, hot and burning. Do I want to go there? No. So what should I do? Get off, change the train. And that's your choice when you have mindfulness. When there's no mindfulness, then you have to react. We're bound to just automatically live like on autopilot. Then our conditioning takes over. And that can be a big problem for many people. If your conditioning is, like let's say a low-level conditioning, then you're experiencing low-level experiences continuously. And that's not your fault, that's just the problem of a very particular conditioning. Fortunately, it can be changed. And changing it, what we discussed this week on Tuesday, is by establishing the positive force, here gratitude, the uplifting energy, but we also need to understand the negative force that is opposing the positive force. So what's the force that is opposing gratitude? What's the fault-finding attitude? It's the fault-finding mind. And that's a very popular one. We are very good at finding out what's wrong. Most people are super good at that. Well, there's no wonder. We are programmed to find out what's wrong. It's part of our survival instinct. Then it's, the media that we consume day in, day out for many people is this uncontrolled consumption of media. It's mostly negative stuff that's designed to create fear. Because those who are afraid can be controlled. They can be led. That's the simple fact. If I install just enough fear in you guys, I can lead you, I can, let's say, the world will explode on Saturday at 3 p.m. But I have the solution. If you all just come to my class, you'll just be fine. That's just an extreme and crazy example, but it somehow works like that, Very often AdWords work like that. They show you, here's the problem. And then the nice music starts. But fortunately, we have the solution. And it's really, really good. And it's so affordable. And it's so convenient. They create an artificial problem, and they make you really concerned about it. And then they create the solution for that, that artificial problem. Like the artificial problem is iPhone 6. The artificial solution is iPhone 7. And they come from the same source. And it just keeps working and working and working every year. It's amazing. It's genius. But it speaks to our core emotions, like fear. It speaks to, follow the newest trends. It's important, and the camera is much better, and the iOS is much better, and you can do so many more things, and to distract yourself from being with yourself, because you don't want to be with yourself. It's scary as hell. Be with yourself without distraction. Ooh, scary. Scary stuff, because you suddenly discover that you don't know what to do with this. And that can be very scary. You suddenly discover that there is grief, boredom, sense of loneliness and disconnection, sense of aimlessness. Shit, I have no purpose. What do I really want in life? Oh, you don't want to face that. Where's your phone? There it is. Let me try the newest Snapchat filter. That's funny. Okay, problem solved. It's just going on like this and like that, because we do these things. Why? Why do we do so much? Because being is... We don't know what to do with ourselves, yeah. Our being is neglected for the sake of doing so we can be later. And that has to be understood. This fault-finding mind serves these patterns. It shows you what's wrong so that you can do something about it. And so that it kind of creates this constant sense of busyness. Now, you need to do that because there is a big problem here. Whether you feel you need to save the world, you need to save your neighbor, you need to do something about the plastic, that's all okay, it's all good. I'm not saying, don't do anything about the plastic, don't clean the beaches. Just say, you go ahead, do these kind of things, but that's not going to solve the real fundamental problem. This is just a little plaster. The fundamental problem is the inner state that we're all in, that restlessness, that anxiety, which you can discover when you're alone by yourself. And that fault-finding mind, it can either be directed towards other people, anyone that you don't like that comes to mind, and then the reason why you don't like them. We all have someone, right? Whether it's a very close person or some distant politician. We all know someone that we say, I don't like this person, because we have learned not to like them. We have been taught and shown not to like them. Reasons are constantly given Here, that's why you should not like this person. And that's what the mind also does. Here, that's why I should not like that person. It's a threat to my identity, to my safety, to my independence and freedom. So then there is dislike. That's how fault finding works. We see other people, we see other things, even we can find faults in things. I remember when I was going with a motorbike to Phuket town one day, there was this guy in front of me. He was riding a motorbike and he kind of squeezed himself between a little car that stood on the right and the, how you call that, the footpath? Bath? Is it bath? Footpath, and the car. And he squeezed himself through this, and of course it was doomed to fail, and he lost his balance and stumbled to the left. And you know what he did? I found that so funny. He spat in anger. He spat at the footpath. Like, there you go, stupid footpath. That was just hilarious to see that. It was just so funny, you know. And we do things like that, and I did things like that too, you know. Like being really mad at objects for being in my way. How dare the stair being right there, so I have to bump my foot in. Who built the stairs there? Can get really angry and mad at objects. It's so funny. Because we find fault in a thing. We do that a lot too. And then the most essential part of fault finding, where it all emanates from, is finding fault with yourself. That's where it all comes from. Like that kind of aversion towards yourself, which is there for all of us. It can be well hidden because you're well entertained now. But if you take away the entertainment, then it quickly comes to the surface. I see it every week in our retreats. When people have no distractions, they have nowhere to go. It's just me in my room, right? And I encourage them, you know, you can use your phone, but you're here for a reason. You have purpose, right? That's the driving force. I don't have to stand behind them and say, "Hey, don't use your phone, or I'll punish you." This is the wrong motivation. You do it for yourself. And then these people find like they really want to distract themselves, and it becomes really torturous for them sometimes. I need to do something. I should take a swim, and maybe I should take a walk, or just go to the cafeteria and have a cup of coffee. And then they become really fidgety and nervous. And then in the afternoon session, I say, "How was your day?" "Oh, you know, like, I don't know what's wrong. It's too hot, it's too cold." And you know, it's just, you know, there's no distraction. So you see yourself so honestly. And all the pain that we carry around usually under this blanket of distraction. And I encourage you guys to see that for yourselves, because it gives you the possibility to go beyond all this underlying pain that we carry around with ourselves, all this underlying tension, which makes it so much more difficult to live a fulfilling and joyful life. That's in the way. All the little fears that we have, little insecurities that we have. I love myself, I hate myself, I need to, I should, maybe I didn't enough, I should have done more of, I shouldn't have done that, you know, all that kind of stuff, you know. It all creates tension. Every little drop of it creates tension. Not only in your mind, that's not just mental tension. I'm not talking about fluffy clouds of tension in your head. I'm talking about real physical tension, even up to the point of illness. The way we govern our mind is very often making us very sick, unnecessarily. Worrying has an impact on your body. Fault finding has an impact on your body, and it just doesn't help at all. There's no positive function of worrying. It's not an uplifting state. Fault finding, on the other hand, does have a positive function. You can discover here that's what's wrong, but that's about it. Now the mind should immediately shift towards, oh well, what's the solution for that? And what steps can I take right now to remedy the situation and to move ahead? But dwelling on the problem like endlessly, like repeating it in our heads, repeating the feeling of worry and anxiety, that is totally useless. And that's the majority of mental activity, isn't it? It's just senseless repetition of stuff that keeps us wired inside. And the thing is, you know these things only when you stop. When you stop doing what you do day in, day out. Then you see clearly, oh, now that's how it's like to be me. Now I have no doing. It's just me, now I have time. How do I use that time? Then you will discover this urge to get away from yourself, to do something else, to look into a book, to get into the pool, to start a conversation. It's really understandable. I have the same thing when I go on retreat. I have the same thing, the same urge to just get out, and very often I give into it. But not always. I like to play with it. This is also what I recommend. You want to take it easy, playful, cheerful, light-hearted, not heavy and serious, and now I need to get out of my delusional mental states, and it's all very somber and dark and heavy, and that's an approach that will not work out. You want to have fun with this, play with it. The reward is huge. If you can get out of yourself, if you can get out of your mind, and out of your body, and out of your stuff, out of your future and out of your past, that's where you can find some real relief. Substantial relief, because it is not bound to conditions. You don't have to maintain it. You don't have to create it or fabricate it, because it is at your core. Like the eye of the storm is in the middle of all the shebang around it, all the walls, all the wind, right? Which looks fearsome. But then at the center it's just perfectly quiet. There's not a bit of wind. So they call it nicely, they call it the eye of the storm. And in our tradition we call it the eye of knowing, which is perfectly centered and calm. The eye of knowing is Tayan, the knowing eye, the consciousness, awareness. There's a lot of words. The point is, the words are pointers to an experience that we are all having right now, the experience of consciousness. And that's what all these classes ultimately are pointing to. But very often we need to kind of remove a few obstacles first and build enough energy so we can break through to this deeper seeing, to really finding yourselves. Okay? So this all comes to mind for today about the opposing force of gratitude, which is the fault-finding mind. Is there any questions?